Give a call to the member for Hasluck.
Thank you, Speaker. My question is to the Deputy Prime Minister. How will the Albanese Labor government's response to the Surface Fleet Review shape the Royal Australian Navy for decades to come, and what alternatives are there?
Give a call to the Deputy Prime Minister and the Minister of Defence.
Well, can I thank the member for her question and acknowledge her service. Last Tuesday, the government announced its plan for the future Royal Australian Navy surface fleet, which will see an increase in the number of our surface combatants from 11 to 26, giving us the most capable Navy in the country's history. And it will also see an acceleration of the acquisition of those surface combatants, such that the first will come into service this decade in 5 years, not 10. But the most important point is that this is a plan which is paid for, with an $11.1 billion increase in defence spending to fully fund the $54 billion it will take to make this happen. So this is real. This is not make-believe. This is not the kind of announcement that we were used to from those opposite, such as the $35 billion guided weapons program, where they only put $1 billion on the table. And this increase, combined with the increases in last year's budget, will see defence spending go to 2.4% of GDP by the early 2030s, and that compares to what we inherited from those opposite, which was taking defence spending to 2.1%. Now, we have heard a lot from the Liberals over the last couple of months about defence spending. They and their little coven of supporters have been dancing around the fire, whipping each other into a frenzy, and as they have been barking at the moon, we have—
Order. Members on my right will cease interjecting. Order. The member for Moreton is warned. I'm trying to hear from the manager of opposition, who's entitled to raise a point of order.
Mr Speaker, on relevance, I invite you to consider what was in fact a quite tightly drafted question, to consider whether the Deputy Prime Minister is entitled to be venturing into the territory that he's going into now.
The question contained what are the alternatives. So the Deputy Prime Minister needs to ensure his answer contains the alternatives that he was asked about, not simply his opinions about former decisions. The Deputy Prime Minister has the call.
We even heard the Shadow Minister suggest that if there wasn't increased spending, there should be resignations. Now, I always think one should be a little careful going to this space, lest one establishes a standard for yourself that you yourself cannot meet. Because when you strip away all the moon barking, what we are left with is the Shadow Treasurer saying that defence spending should be within the envelope which they took to the last election. That's 2.1% by the early 2030s. When the Shadow Minister for Defence has been asked whether he supports an increase in defence spending, he's consistently said he can't commit, and all the while the Leader of the Opposition on this issue has been completely silent. And so what that means is that the policy of those opposite is 2.1, 2.1, 2.1, and what that means is that represents a cut in defence spending. The Albanese Labor government is committed to increasing defence spending to 2.4% of GDP to give us the surface fleet we need to keep Australians safe.